Good afternoon, I'm Rory. This is 420 Central TV, and I have the privilege of chatting with one of the longest standing influencers, participants within the cannabis industry, Mr. Herman van der Walt. A pleasure to have a chat with you, Herman.
Always.
You've had a journey that's been a long route through the cannabis industry. We've had several chats previously. I've certainly taken a lot of lessons from what you do at the Canna Club. But
Likewise.
just to give you a couple of questions, if you'd let us know, how did you get involved in the cannabis industry to start? Where did cannabis start for you as a person?
Thank you. Before I answer that, let me just say good day to all your viewers, blessings, especially to Canna Club members. It's always an honor to speak, and I'd gladly do that, especially if I'm surrounded by people like you.
Kind of you, man.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us into your beautiful space.
Sure
It's lovely
thing.
to be here.
Sure thing, good to have
So
you
with
here.
regards to my what's the first question?
The first question is really just
How
to
did I
get
get
from you,
involved?
where did it start for you? Where did cannabis begin for you as an individual?
Okay, it's a long story, but I'll try and keep it to the short points. I grew up in a far northern province.
Right.
So in those days, cannabis was really something you shouldn't be doing. But on the farm, I had several of my black friends. They were cannabis cultivation in the Volkberg farms,
Right.
always around thorn trees, so that helicopters couldn't see them and burn them. And at many times we would steal a little bit of their father's cannabis, matchbox or something,
Right.
and we'd try and smoke something, maybe, like this.
Yes.
And we always had such fun when I'm on the farm, swimming and doing things. And,
Everything was better.
and I was having just fun, laughing because of that little bit of cannabis.
Yes.
And then when I go back to school, definitely not. Old South Africa was highly against cannabis.
100%.
Heavily frowned upon.
Yes.
You're already a criminal if you just got involved in any like that.
It's quite sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one thing that really touched me deeply is my father was business partners with Barnabas Legignani. Have you ever seen the ZCC?
Yes, I have,
The
absolutely.
Star and the Dove?
Yes.
It's not Zulu Country Club. It's a Zion Christian church.
100%.
One of the biggest churches in South Africa. Now that
In
was
Moria.
in Moria. Now our farm was just past Moria.
Okay.
And my father and the bishop was partners in feedlots and in cattle and so.
Yes.
So I knew him well. And they have this place called St. Helena Hospital,
Right.
where throughout the years they've been treating their own devotees. And how they treat them is by cannabis and by vegetables. So if a ZCC person becomes ill, they go to that hospital.
Right.
And I've, through the years, because, you travel around there, meet a lot of people on the farm. I've met so many people that went there, got healed and stayed on. And then later on in life, my own father got cancer. And the first thing the bishop did was send me cannabis. Please give that to your dad.
Yes.
You see, my father he had the best doctors, didn't want to hear anything about that.
Especially in the apartheid state that we lived, it was absolutely taboo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So only 4 years later, my mom had the same problem. But this time I had a file of motivation of what they should do. And also that didn't really work. And the experience I saw from them, especially chemotherapy, I think cannabis can do a lot. I'm not going to make a claim that cannabis will heal cancer.
Sure.
But I think in terms of chemotherapy, cannabis can do so much to alleviate everything that happens
Pain,
when
nausea,
you are having the pain, the nausea,
giving you an appetite.
and the appetite. And so, especially I'm thinking back to my own parents. So that was the situation for me. So early on, I said to my wife, my family has got a whole history of especially colon cancer, dying young, whatever.
Right.
And since what I've seen, I'm going to get into cannabis. And she did. So we've made cannabis part of our life a long time ago.
Okay.
Smoking and taking oils daily, I would think things we make ourselves. Just a little bit of cannabis oil for whatever benefit we get out of it.
Yes.
And we do get benefit out of it. I'm not going to get into that now. So then I've got 3 sons and a daughter.
Right.
And the youngest one, he was fortunate in the way that from a young age he knew he wanted to be a farmer. And by the time he was 16, he had already
We're talking
got
about Harris. Yes.
He had, because his older brothers and sisters went to college, he also went to college. And by 16, he had an international matric and was a very wise guy, you know.
Right.
And said to me he wants to farm, but because we have this small holding, it has to be high value, small scale, you know.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he says it's cannabis.
I believe him.
So I said, let's start. And that's how we got involved. We started the first club. I believe it was 9 or 10 years ago. This club was called Mercia. It only had 7 members, and we only grew 7 plants per member.
Right. Is this in the same space you are
No,
now?
yeah, the same space, but no
Okay.
clubhouse, no nothing like that.
Right.
And then we got raided by SIU. My wife, my son, 5 other members locked up. It was a terrible experience. It was a full-on tactical onslaught.
Yes.
I wasn't at home at the time. And my beautiful wife, you know, she still managed to phone me 3 times while this was going down to tell me, don't come here, I need you to stay outside, because she knows if I'm going to find out, I'm going to go there.
Sure thing. Sure
I
thing.
need
So
you to
it's the
stay
smartest
outside
thing.
so you can arrange attorneys and whatever.
Right. Right.
And then their case got stayed pending the outcome of the Prince.
Okay. The 2018
the 2018
judgment, yes.
Prince judgment. And that's how, at the time, my son had already given up on cannabis and went to go sailing and whatever. And then when the Prince judgment came out to be so favorably, placing South Africa actually in a leader's position in the world,
Right.
where our cannabis is based on your private rights
100%.
and your rights of freedom of association. And you know,
So okay, that's interesting. I mean, and for you, it was almost an immediate. The moment the judgment came through, because I was the same in that same space. Once that judgment came through, lots of pennies dropped in terms of there's a marketplace here, there's a ability to destigmatize.
correct.
I mean, it was a very difficult
way to forward.
Absolutely way forward. And the way you went with it, I think you went with the NCOD model probably better than anybody else has done. What made you choose that, and what were the next steps for you once you decided you were back in the cannabis
I'll
industry?
just go back to what I was telling you. The final section there is, after the Prince judgment, I obviously thought, look, my son has got something going here, maybe he'd be interested. So I phoned him and I sent him articles. And he resigned the same day and came back the next morning.
Amazing.
Borrowed 140,000 Rand from me and started.
Okay, and again, in that same space,
In that
which
same
you've now
space.
built the clubhouse, all sorts
And
of
then
things
I
like
had to
that.
find a model of operation.
Yes.
There were no models like today. I mean, the club officially opened 6 years ago.
Yes.
You see, the Canna Club.
Yes.
And what we found is NCOD. This had existed forever. It started in the States
Yes.
under prohibition as a way for people to get their medical product and their
And I think
cannabis produce.
Exactly, and it's, I mean, the heart of the NCOD model being it's done on the premises.
Yes.
For the members who come to the premises.
Yes.
The plants belong to them, so it was a very smart, tight loop.
Actually,
less
when it
risk.
went to Europe, it became involved with a number of drug agencies. And that is when the NCOD, the Coalition of Just and Effective Policies for Drugs, were envisioned. I think that's already happened in 2017.
Right.
And it's about all drugs and how harm reduction can be done in terms of the whole drug scenes, because cannabis was then seen as a drug,
Can you believe it?
you see?
Yeah.
And in many places it still is, or
Right.
a gateway drug or so.
Okay.
You see?
So Herman, just to press on, you've had a really a good experience. You've seen a lot of people come through the industry. Who and what are the people that have kind of had an influence on your thinking? And I'll start with the Prince judgment, etc. But you've had a time to sort of look through and see many approaches, many softwares, many different products come through there. Where have you kept your inspiration? Who are the people that have been positive in terms of influence at the Canna Club?
I think it's actually a lot of people. It'd be very difficult for me to name names because I'll be excluding people, which I shouldn't be.
I understand.
But I think there are a number of people who who went down the path, and for some it didn't work out like it should have. I don't think they maybe got the recognition they should have.
Yes.
But it's like that in any new industry.
Right.
And unfortunately, the cannabis industry, in my mind, hasn't been really aligned. There's been so much internal fighting and bickering,
Yeah.
and it hasn't been presenting itself as a professional industry.
Completely agree.
It can be taken really seriously.
Yes.
Not a bunch of hippies that fight about things.
Yes.
You see, that has been a problem for me, but I've seen that rapidly change.
Yes.
Rapidly change. Now I'm seeing a lot of new information coming out and good things like that.
And do you feel that we are sitting in still quite a void from a government support point of view, from a legislation point of view? For me, the number of years we've waited has been far too long. Do you feel that that's also led us to the level of infighting that's within the industry, that there hasn't been a set of rules, there hasn't been a set of support? Do you think that's played a major role?
I do think so, and I do think it's played a major role, and it's attracted also maybe the wrong characters, because there's no legislation wanting to do a quick thing, not really. But it's an absolute failure. Look at the communities. We still cannot provide one community-driven project that can, because we don't have a legal framework.
Yes.
There are many clubs like us who have projects going, but we can't prove to them because we can't open up in a legal space.
Yeah.
And we can attract financing for them, but it has to be a legal model.
Yes.
You see.
Do you find that there's a lack of, going back to government, there isn't anywhere that you can go to and say, I have this question, or we have this model, or we'd like to do this? There's just a complete void in that space. There's no one to talk to.
We've always felt that. That's why we have such an extensive website where all the information that we have is there, and why we've been maintaining a social media profile. It's about education, medication, inspiring people and empowering people.
Yes.
That's our motto.
I think, for me, what's important is to have a look and see, and let's touch on that. For me, one thing that comes to mind is the Scissor Sisters, and that goes back quite a long way. Talk us through the Scissor Sisters and how they began and where they're at today.
Cool. So in terms of empowering, there's really actually three areas that you can empower in a small community-based operation. One would be in cultivation. Now in cultivation, we have many different types of cultivation: greenhouse, green door, indoor, outdoor.
Ever expanding. Yes.
Ever expanding, and it's intensive, and it takes a lot of time for someone to be a really good cultivator. And then we have the clubhouse space, where we have clubhouse managers and bud tenders and so. And then we have the processing side. Processing, packaging, post-harvesting maybe. And so we decided from day one to see how we can empower in each of these sections people. And we take them in on a 2-year internship base. We sometimes get support from DTI and from Department of Labour.
Right.
We've been very successful in getting stipends for some of our students. And we've been very successful with students finding work afterwards. Because that's another big problem. Where can they go work if there's no legal structure?
Yes.
What does all the training and education help if there's no job?
Right.
So we need to look at the whole value chain.
Right.
To make this work, and work bottom up.
Yes.
First grade demand, then the cultivators, then the education.
Right.
Not the other way around.
I agree with you. So the ladies that are within the Scissor Sisters,
yes.
How did they get selected? Did you structure a business for them? Are they
yes.
their own entity? Talk us through
yes,
that.
we the original Scissor Sisters, we structured a little co-op through them. Unfortunately, they never completed their co-op. They got offered a job from a GMP facility, and we were very happy for them that they got that. So the original Scissor Sisters, the 4 of them, they were trained by us, especially. It's the whole skilled processor certification is 4 months. It's quite a lot of time.
Yes.
Yeah, and they've also trained a lot of other people short term for their own income. We created a little business for them. They also did trimming work for other members and other cultivators.
Right.
At their own rates.
I think that's
gave him this,
important, Herman, because
Yes.
one of the things that you find is that in some of these spaces, there's not enough work for one specific
Correct.
club. So the ability to make that a system or an offering that's available
Yes.
to more than just the one
Yes.
club, I think is building longevity. It's building a future in the industry, and it's actually constructing spaces for
Yes.
people to earn a living. So I know that you've brought on one or two guys from the rural environment to do growing. Do you want to
So from
tell
the
us about
Scissor
that?
Society, let me just finish there.
Sure.
So we brought in new people, interviewed a lot, found some deserving people, trained them. The first 4 months, 4 months candidates just passed, recently certified, doing well, have taken over the Sister brand and Facebook page, and we'll be training new Scissor Sisters. So anybody can go and apply to become a Scissor Sister, and there's different models, and they'll train you. We can't guarantee work afterwards,
Yes.
but they'll certify you as one of them.
Right.
Yeah, and then so that's on the processing side. So when we talk processing, we start post-harvesting. So from the trimming side to the drying, the weigh-in, weigh-out procedures, curing, those procedures, then the trimming and the packaging, because we do everything packaged.
Yes.
See, so everything gets packaged, and then storage in controlled environment and so on. So that's all they do. The whole procedure.
Right.
Yeah, and they do a very good job at it.
Yes.
The people that use them are always impressed by. Even at some of the cups, people say they can see which butts were trimmed by the Scissor Sisters.
Right.
It's crazy, no?
Right. No,
Yeah.
I would believe it.
It's crazy because they do a lot of
Yeah.
work and they know their stuff.
And something that you've been big on, Herman, is certification and recognition, and I think that that's vital. You know, we
For
come
deserving
from
people.
Absolutely, it's not a handout or
Yeah.
a dish out. It's based on actually getting stuff
Yeah,
right
you
and
have to-
achieving
you
a
have to be
set
able
of
to do the job.
standards. So I think that's commendable. You know, we're in an environment where recognition is not something that's being given to people in the industry because we don't know what the measure is or how it should be. So setting those standards and being able to give people recognition, I think, is vitally important. Hey, good afternoon. That was a really lucky interview with Herman from the Canna Club. And we've got a little bit more left for you that will hang over till next week. See you. Have a lekker week. Ciao for now.